The most important thing, I think, is that you follow your happiness, follow your bliss, follow your gut. Because if you feel like something is wrong, something is wrong, you know? And the only person who can change it is you.
Welcome to Art for All, the Sketchbook Skool podcast. I'm your host, Danny Gregory, and I'm the author of a dozen or so books on art and creativity. I'm a sketchbook artist, and I'm the founder of Sketchbook Skool. In each episode of this season of Art for All, I invite a friend to talk about things that matter to us. It's the sort of unhurried conversation that we don't get enough of these days. I hope you'll enjoy it with us. Today I'm going to be talking to Koosje Koene. Koosje co-founded Sketchbook Skool with me back in 2013, and we worked together every day for almost 7 years. But then Koosje decided to leave the company, and she's taken a new direction with her life. She's become an abstract painter, she teaches travel workshops, and she's just written a book about drawing and how it can improve your life. I'm still great friends with Koosje, and in fact, she still teaches a regular class in our Spark program. But we've never talked publicly about why she decided to leave the school and how we both felt about it and what she's been doing since. We decided it was time to sit down and chat about it. I kind of want to talk to you about your post-Sketchbook Skool life and the idea of making a decision about where you want to go with your life. I'm interested to know what the hell you've been doing all this time.
A whole lot of nothing. No, that's not true. Well, I wrote this. Hello.
For those who are listening to this, she just held up her soon-to-be classic book, Life is Better When You Draw It.
You can buy it right now.
All right, excellent. And hopefully you will. So you were obviously part of Sketchbook Skool from the very beginning. And, we built it together. And then there came a point, was it 2 years ago? Really? It was actually before the pandemic. It was almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2019.
So it was like the autumn of 2019 that you started to decide that that you wanted to go in a new direction. Can you just talk a little bit about that time? What was that like and what were you thinking?
I was thinking that my life had been changing throughout the years that we had been working together. And I was thinking about how I wanted my life to actually be and how I wanted to fill my days. Sketchbook Skool kept sort of falling outside of it. It didn't fit. And it hurt really much to discover that, because we built Sketchbook Skool. It was our idea, and we built it up, and we thought about it so well, and we worked together so well. But at some point, I noticed that being online all the time was a little bit too much for me, and that also in combination with working in a different time zone, I felt that I was disconnected with the rest of my life. Like I was living in a parallel world, and it just didn't feel right anymore. So it took a while to realize that, and it was a lot of soul searching, and it was so painful to tell you once I decided, like, okay, so this is it. This is the only way to do this. And I'm so glad that, we got out the way we did, But yeah, so that was what happened. So that's basically it.
Yeah, I was very, I was obviously sad that this had come to pass, but I was also proud of you for putting yourself first. It's difficult to be in a situation where you've built something, it's going well, but that you're able to look at your life objectively and say, it's taking too much away from me. And the Sketchbook Skool is a very demanding job. When we started, I never thought it was my job either. It was going to be one of a bunch of different projects that I was going to do. And it was, you know, it was very demanding. You think about it all the time. There were always new things coming up. We had so many artists we were working with, so many students we were working with, so many new ideas. It was constant. And, you know,
people we were working with. Yeah, exactly. Managing
all of our staff.
people.
Yeah, the people.
Can you imagine that in the first couple of years, we both did all kinds of other stuff next to it? It was kind of crazy. I mean, you've done that artist in residency thing, and you wrote a few books. It's like, how?
It's true. I was doing public speaking. I was doing advertising, freelancing. I mean, we were doing less in those days. We did like one course every 6 months. Now we do 3 courses a day.
As if that wasn't a lot already, but yeah, it's true. It is different from what it is now. Yeah,
it's true. Well, I'm glad that you decided to do what was right for you. I mean, I certainly wouldn't have wanted you to keep doing this if it was problematic. And honestly, there have been times that I've been in the same position you've been in, where I'm just like, well, to hell with this. It's too demanding. So you got to this point where, you know, it was time to do something different. You'd been doing Sketchbook School for like 6 years, I think, at that point, right?
I think it was 7, yeah.
7? I mean, now it's going to be 9 this year, so yeah, something like that. Anyway, so what are some of the things that you've been doing, and you know, what have you been learning from them?
Well, I think it was at the beginning of the year that we talked about it, and then we decided that I would stay on until June, and then in June I would take my sabbatical. But then in the meantime, COVID happened. So that whole sabbatical with plans of traveling and taking courses and workshops in person with all these people that I wanted to, you know, learn from, that just was off the table. But I actually think it was good for me because I was really resting. Like you should, you know, if you're almost burnt out, you need rest. And I discovered all kinds of new things. I started painting and discovered like a whole new artist within me next to the drawing artist. There's this abstract painting artist who I'm still discovering. But at some point I got ideas for stuff I wanted to do. And at some point I started to do a little bit of writing because I had been thinking of writing a book for quite a while. And I made sort of a habit of writing every day. I would go out. We had this lockdown, but we could go outside. So I would go out and walk for over an hour or something. And then I would always get an idea while I was walking. Like, oh, today I could write about whatever. And then I would take some notes on my phone, just, you know, speaking it into the recording thing. And then I would come home, make a cup of coffee and start writing for an hour or so. And I did that for quite a few days in a row, for quite a few weeks. And then at some point I felt like, okay, these might all be chapters. And that's when the book started to actually really become a project. It took about 2 years to write it and create the whole thing. And
right, because you did a lot of illustrations for it, and it's a really rich-looking book. Lots of examples.
And Suzanne did the editing for it, and she did such an amazing job. I mean, I couldn't have. And
you were writing in a language that's not your native language. Your English is so good, and it's gotten better and better conversationally. But it's the ultimate test to be able to actually write and to write a book in a foreign language. That's a great accomplishment too. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
So, and you've also been doing some teaching, right? You've been doing some workshops. I've been jealous of those things that you've been able to do.
Yeah. Oh, it's been so much fun. And it is so much fun. So once the lockdowns were sort of done, I started to plan workshops, and the first workshop I did was in Greece with the Blue Walk, and they are a travel agency who have like travel trips with an additional art thing. So they invite an artist, and the artist will teach every day during the week or however long it is. And that was such an amazing experience to just travel again, for one thing. And then with a really fun group of artists in Greece. It was so beautiful there. And just teaching every day. It was amazing. So I was like, well, if this could be my life, that's pretty good.
I would have liked to have been there, but I was in a meeting. But we were originally supposed to go on that trip all together, and actually you weren't going to lead it, but Prashant was going to lead it. We were booked.
Yes.
JJ was going to come. We were all going to go on this trip together to Greece, and we were going to go to the different islands and hang out with Prashant, and then COVID happened, and we had to cancel it. And then you got the chance to take it over, so that was really great. So that's really cool. You've been doing some in Paris too, right? Some other things like that?
So the Blue Walk, I'm leaving next week for another trip with the Blue Walk to Nice in France. So that will be really fun again. And I have hooked up with Sabine Wisman, who is an illustrator, and we know her from Sketchbook Skool, of course. And she is also a creative coach, and we have been organizing we call them the city drawing trips, and they are a long weekend where we teach workshops, like the full weekend. It's all about drawing. So those are really fun, and it's really fun to work with her.
Those are all done in Dutch as well. So
that's all in Dutch, and then we have a group of 20 people, and we split them up. They learn a lot, and they're always very tired at the end. Sunday afternoon, they're like, I can't. I just can't anymore. So that's good. We give them everything.
They can rest when they get home.
Exactly. It's like, you came here to draw. Well, here it is. We're like drill sergeants. No, it's really fun.
So are you getting busier and busier? Is there a danger that you will now be as busy as you were when you burnt out at Sketchbook Skool?
Yeah, I need to be careful that I don't pile up too much, because that's when you're a creative person or a maker, there's so many ideas, and I get really excited about an idea, and then I just want to work on it right away. But then there's still like another pile of work that also needs attention. So I'm really careful to plan well, and also to just, if I write it down, this idea won't run away. I don't need momentum for it. If it's really a good idea, in a couple of months, it will be fine too. So yes, that helps me to not overload myself. And I also have, like, the way I spend my days, I just don't have full working days, because I want to take a walk every day for, like, I want my 10,000 steps, which is a great goal, and I often get those in. It's more balanced.
Well, when I think back to when we first met and we first started working together, which was 2013, a long time ago almost. At that point, you had a part-time job as a barista, right? And then, but you were also doing stuff online. You were, so how does your life today compare to your life then? I mean, obviously you've learned a lot, you've done a lot in those years. How do you see that kind of meeting, that connection now between that version of you before Sketchbook Skool and this version of you after Sketchbook Skool?
In a way, it does feel like I'm back where I was, teaching online, doing my, I also do these online sessions, and I have my Patreon where people follow me, which feels kind of like the modern version of what I did back then. But still, it does feel different. I have changed so much, and my life and the way I fill my days has changed so much that I can't really compare. But it is kind of true. It's like, I'm back into a certain groove that fits me well, only I'm doing it better. Yes. Right.
No, I mean, that's great. I mean, I think your level of happiness is the most important thing in that. I think, look, I think the people who there are a lot of people out there in the world who would like to make art be more important in their life. But I think we set ourselves up and we think I can only do one thing at a time. And also we get into a groove where, well, this is what I do. This is what I am. In your case, you could say, well, I don't know. I have this job and I do these things. So give some advice in terms of how to look at your life objectively and do that kind of an assessment that says, I need to make a change and I need to be true to myself.
Well, I do think that I have the benefit that I have always had a freelancer mindset. So working for a company hasn't been something that I've experienced really, except for my own company, Sketchbook Skool. Maybe it's a naivety, or maybe it's confidence that things will work out. And if they don't, I can tweak things and then maybe they get better, or I can add, or I can, and that's, that's what we've been doing together too. Like, okay, let's tweak this, let's change this. And then maybe we grow a little bit this way, or we can do a little bit more that we enjoy or that people ask for. But the most important thing, I think, is that you follow your happiness, follow your bliss, follow your gut. Because if you feel like something is wrong, something is wrong, and the only person who can change it is you. But it's not for everyone, and not everyone has that entrepreneurship in them. But there are ways you can change, even if you don't want to, change your whole life and switch your job. It is all about mindset. So if you are like, I have such a busy job, how can I even do a drawing every day or even once a week? Well, if you really want to, you can make it happen. I mean, you need to just focus. And just recently, I canceled my Netflix subscription. Wow. How much time do you then win? There's small things that you can do to make that time for what makes you happy. And we tend to forget that drawing can make us happy. So we sort of postpone it and we don't put it on the very first priority of our list. But I think you really should. I think that is really the mindset thing. Like, okay, make it a priority.
I think we all can get into a situation where we feel like change is an overwhelming idea. It would just be too hard.
Yeah.
When you're a freelancer, you have more control over your life. You have, you can make certain decisions. But I think for a lot of people, you have a job, you have a family, you have responsibilities, you have the idea of change feels so disruptive, and it feels like it will reverberate through everything that you can't even make a small change. And a lot of times making art can feel like that kind of a disruptive change. I think about people who I've talked to who said, if I make art, then I may end up quitting my job, or I might end up, my husband might leave me because he doesn't like the idea that I'm making art. There's all kinds of things that you can imagine coming about from it. You would never say, if I go to the gym, this could happen, but when it comes to making art, we can make it feel like, it has this power to blow up the world. You took a step in a way reversing that, where you said having a job that's all about art doesn't make up for the fact that, you're still feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling confined and not able to make your own decisions. So, it's tough. I think there comes times in our lives where we just have to do that, where we have to make a decision about what is most important to us.
Before you know it, your life is done. And you haven't done those things that you were curious about and that you wanted to experience. And that's really also something that happened in the past few years. a few important people in my life have passed away. And I was like, wow, life is short. You better just, make the best of it. So let's not wait for the right time. The years pass and you're like, I still didn't fill my sketchbook. What happened?
Yeah, I think that's one of the gifts, I guess, that the pandemic gave to the world.
Absolutely.
Was this reminder, right, that that's why so many people are changing jobs or moving to new places or changing how they live, because there's been this reminder that life is short, but also that change happens. I mean, I look at my own life and I think about the dramatic changes that have happened to me. Almost all of them have to do with something else outside happening to me. You know, whether it was somebody passing away or somebody moving or something with the economy, whatever it was, there were always changes that I had to react to and do something. I can only think of really one major change I made in my life, which was when I quit my career in advertising, was the one time when I said, I'm going to make a change. It's very difficult to decide for yourself to make a change in life, and you can even, life, karma, whatever, may change your direction, and you can fight it. A lot of people do. You fight it and you become more and more sort of unhappy and out of sorts because of it. And what you did, I think you decided to make a change. And, and I think that's really, it takes courage, and, you can end up regretting a decision like that or thinking that you'll regret it. In the end, it is important to take control of your life and not just be blowing in the wind of change. Yeah. So good on you for doing that.
Thanks.
Now, I think that's something that we've always tried to talk about at Sketchbook School, because art is something that so many people want to have in their life, but they are afraid to let in, for fear of what changes it might cause or what it might tell them about themselves. But I think I have very few people who I've met who regretted it in the end, regretted making art front and center in their life. So has art changed its role in your life since you've made this change? Yeah,
I mean, I'm still teaching because I just really love encouraging people to have this much fun, in their lives, even if it's the 5-minute drawing that you do just before breakfast. And so I really love that. But then there's more time to draw, really dedicated time to draw. And I don't want to ever miss that anymore. And then there's the painting, which is, I'm just still really exploring that. I feel very excited about discovering splashing paint around and combining colors and finding out that, hey, that looks pretty cool, actually. That's really fun. And hours pass without me even realizing. At some point, I will sit down and look at what I did, and then I feel my legs. I'm like, wow, what's going on? I've been standing for like 4 hours in a row because I stand. That's one of the things too. I always work in a sketchbook. And so when I paint, I want to paint big. So I have these huge canvases and I want to do this, the movement with my arm, just throwing paint. And I can, because I have this studio where I have the space for it. And that's just, I feel like I'm a beginner. And I think that is also part of being an artist, that you are always a beginner. I don't feel like a beginner that much when I'm drawing. So learning a lot constantly, that's a big part of art in my life right now.
Great. Well, do you think you have, what are your goals right now?
I don't really set like big goals for myself. I I do love teaching, so I do want to do that a little bit more. And I need to get my income, I think that's basically my goal, doing my own thing while working to get some cash in.
Sounds like life as an artist.
Also, taking good care of yourself, that's really something that has become really important to me, that I just keep an eye on that. And that keeps me happy.
And of course, you still teach at Sketchbook School. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
You teach as part of Spark. You'll always be part of Sketchbook School. And
I wouldn't want to miss that.
Koosje is a super sketchbook artist, a great teacher, and a good friend. I strongly recommend her new book, Life is Better When You Draw It. In fact, I wrote the introduction. I'll give details on where to get it in the show notes and in the description on YouTube. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time